What if I told you that Chainsaw Man might have ended years before the manga even started? And that ending is from a completely different manga. There's a theory that has floated around the Chainsaw Man fanbase for a while now, that the entire series is actually a prequel to Fujimoto's earlier manga, Fire Punch. Kinda like how Fire Force ended up being a prequel to Solier. And today I want to break down where this theory came from, why it actually sounds believable at first, and then answer the big question of, is it actually possible? Or just bullshit. So firstly, where this theory comes from. Now, this theory exists because Tatsuki Fujimoto, the author of Chainsaw Man, actually has an earlier manga that was his first published series. Chainsaw Man is obviously what people know him for, but before that, his first actually serialized manga was Fire Punch, which ran from 2016 to 2018, which is actually the same year that Chainsaw Man Part 1 began. And for those who haven't read Fire Punch, it is far darker than Chainsaw Man and far more bitter and bleak. Although it's really grown on me since I started reading it, and I think it honestly could even have been better than Chainsaw Man if it was given more time. Like, the dystopian vibe that it produces kind of reminds me of the game Lisa, for anybody that's ever played that. Just this pessimistic end of the world view of how dark and inhumane people get when they make it to the end of the world. So a quick rundown of the plot of Fire Punch. It follows Agni, who is a protagonist with almost instant regenerative abilities, but was set on fire at some point, which, oopsie daisies, burns forever, leaving him perpetually being burned alive. See? Dark. And the world of Fire Punch is effectively this post-apocalyptic, dystopian, frozen world. And it's been like that for hundreds of years. People like Agni, who have these supernatural abilities, are called the Blessed. And in this post-apocalyptic hellscape, blessed people are literally used for fuel and fire, among other things. So because some of them can regenerate, for example, they can provide things like firewood or meat, which is, again, very bleak. So yeah, somehow Chainsaw Man is the lighter story of the two. But as to why people think they're connected, this is where the theory kind of gets off. So people think Fire Punch might take place after Chainsaw Man, because there's been a kind of connection made between devil hybrids being also able to regenerate and the Blessed. Plus, the world of Chainsaw Man seems to be getting to the level of destruction that Fire Punch's world is already knee deep in. And fire plays this massive symbolic role in both stories, specifically part 2 of Chainsaw Man. Since in Chainsaw Man Part 2, the Fire Devil is becoming an increasingly important figure, whereas in Fire Punch, since the world is frozen over, flames and fire are a thing that's kind of venerated as a godly presence, something to pray to or ask good luck from. So the theory goes, Chainsaw Man ends with the complete annihilation of civilization and the planet, maybe with also Denji erasing fire or heat, which then leads to this frozen world. And over time, humans and devils evolve into this kind of new thing, which is what the Blessed end up being. And these are the connections that people have made from Fire Punch to Chainsaw Man, if there was a thread to be connected. And it does sound really fun. It would be a fun way of connecting the two stories together, at least. But then, once you actually read Fire Punch, the theory very quickly starts running into problems. First off, the regeneration aspect. Because yeah, devils and devil hybrids do regenerate, but they regenerate using blood. And Blessed in Fire Punch, firstly, don't all regenerate. That's just one of the abilities that some of them can have. And the ones that do regenerate don't need any blood. So because of the fact that the Blessed don't have this one specific power system, it's all over the place and it's very variable in terms of what you can actually get. It's basically closer to the mutants from the X-Men world. I mean, even the world being frozen over in Fire Punch is a direct result of a blessed person's power, which does lead to the other kind of biggest issue, which is that in Chainsaw Man, for the world to get to the way that it is in Fire Punch, there isn't any character, devil or hybrid or anybody so far that we've seen with that ability to freeze the entire planet or even use ice. And while some people do try and link this to the Fire Devil, like maybe fire could somehow reverse its ability or take away fire from the world, and that would end up in this kind of frozen earth. It doesn't really make sense, because in Fire Punch we do actually see people produce heat and produce fire. I mean, the main fucking character for one, which wouldn't be possible if it was made frozen by, you know, Denji consuming the fire devil, or the fire devil itself reversing its own ability. So once you look at the mechanics closely of Fire Punch, the connection just doesn't really hold. It's more of like a what if scenario. So yeah, as cool of an idea as it is, it doesn't really seem possible that Chainsaw Man could be this secret prequel to Fire Punch, and, you know, the last panel of Chainsaw Man will show us Agni or whatever. The worlds just don't follow the same rules. The power systems are completely different, and they don't line up enough to where the Blessed could work as an evolution of devils and hybrids, or the destruction of the world in Chainsaw Man would line up to this frozen world in Fire Punch. But honestly, I mean, that might be a good thing, because that means that there's still space for a sequel eventually to Chainsaw Man whenever it ends. That whatever happens after isn't locked to this predetermined thing that came out before Fujimoto even developed fully the plan for Chainsaw Man. And I'm sure he will do something even more unhinged with it in the future. But I mean, let me know what you think. I could be missing something. I haven't fully swept through the whole manga yet, but it does feel like it's just more so wishful thinking than anything else. But yeah, I mean, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't read Fire Punch yet, I mean, do it. I think it is potentially even better than Chainsaw Man for as short as it is, but obviously keep in mind it is far darker.